Hey guys, we have our next interview lined up here on the Scratch Golf Show. Another PGA Tour caddy, David Gies, currently caddied for Bud Colley, but is caddied for a couple other folks on the PGA Tour. David, welcome to the Scratch Golf Show, man. Really appreciate you jumping on this week. Yeah, absolutely. I know we were just was chatting offline, but you're currently in a hotel in Minnesota for the 3M this week. Um, Before we get into the actual interview itself, why don't you just give the people of the Scratch Golf Show a 2 minute kind of I mean, obviously I know who you are, but let's give this the people listening and watching just a high level overview of who you are and kind of what you do on the PGA Tour.
I caddy now. I used to try to play a little bit. I played amateur golf. I kind of tried to go pro. I didn't really try because I necessarily wanted to, but I had money behind me, so it was kind of
Yeah,
why not? Um,
yeah,
and then when COVID hit, kind of my opportunities kind of went away. And then Johnson Wagner asked me to caddy for him, and I didn't. I mean, it was a friend of mine. Seemed like a fun get to travel, be still involved with golf. So I did that,
yeah.
and I mean, it just kind of went from there. I loved it, and then once our partnership ended, and he kind of half retired, half fired me. One of the whichever way you want to look at it.
Yeah,
I liked it enough where I pursued it some more. So then I went to Harrison Endicott, and we had a 2 year run, and just recently picked up Bud. It's been
Bud.
great
Yeah, that's
early
awesome,
on in
man.
this little career.
Yeah, man, I know Bud Colley's huge. I mean, obviously, I'm a golf nut. I remember when Bud Colley was kind of the next big thing when he kind of came out and grinded away and got his tour card. But he had like the special exemption status back in the day, and with I know he had a couple rough injuries, and it's good to see him playing well again. But yeah, man, that's awesome. And I've got a couple Johnson Wagner for you questions. Given how popular he's gotten on Golf Channel, it's really cool to see him kind of evolve. Man, he's hilarious, and he's made those live from shows way more interesting and fun, on the week to week basis with the reenactments of the stuff. So that's awesome, dude. Welcome to the show. We love the PGA Tour caddies. Obviously, we had Willie on, we have you on, and we're going to feature a couple more. And it's good because, like I said, I feel like you guys do a lot of great work on a week to week basis, and you guys deserve to be compensated and shed some light on. So I'm glad I can do that with the Scratch Golf Show. So let's start with I know you did the Pull Hook podcast back in March, so that was a great listen. If you guys go listen to that, if after this, obviously after this podcast, but let's start. You played at North Alabama. You mentioned you played in some mid-am events. You've played in a few USGA events, but you kind of got your start caddying, and your first week after I think you caddied for someone who won the mid-am, and then your first kind of event caddying was Augusta National. Is that correct? And then if so, kind of walk us through that week and how kind of cool that was being a first time loop at Augusta.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I'd caddied here and there for buddies and AM events, mini tour events, even back in junior golf. We used to finish our rounds
Yeah.
and go play the afternoon. If a buddy was playing the afternoon, you'd go caddy for him. So, I mean, I'd caddied before, but not at
Right.
a level where it really mattered. And even caddying the
Right.
U.S. Mid-Am, yes, it matters to the player, but it's not like you're not playing for money. You're kind of playing for pride. And usually, if you're caddying for somebody,
Right.
it's with a friend and whatnot. But yeah, so I had missed the Mid Am that year. It was in Charlotte, my hometown. And it was a course, both courses I've played way too many times. And my buddy qualified,
Yeah.
and I just asked if he wanted me to loop, and he's like, "Yeah, come on." And then he he goes and wins. It was and at the end of it, he's like, "Man, I really don't know how to pay you." And I was like, "Well, I can think of one way." And he's like, "What's that?" I was like, I want a caddy Augusta." And he's like, "Oh, for sure, you're
Yeah.
definitely doing that." So, yeah, my first experience professional caddying was the Masters, and it was it's a little weird spot just because they've got some rules and the aura about the place, so you kind of feel like you're
Yeah.
walking on eggshells, but eventually you kind of settle in, and it's the coolest experience in the world. Yeah, you can't beat it.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I was lucky enough to go with my pops in 2011, the year Rory shot 80. I went to a practice round that year. Haven't been back since. I lose the lottery just like everyone else. But yeah, man, I bet. Was that your first time at Augusta, or had you been there in the past?
I've been very lucky. When I was 10, my dad put an ad in the newspaper, which is unheard of now. But he put an ad in the newspaper, man and his son
Yeah.
looking for tickets to Augusta. And this gentleman from Albemarle, which is about an hour and a half from where I live, or hour from where I live,
Yeah.
sent him an email saying, "Hey, I go Thursday, Friday. you're welcome to the 2 tickets on Saturday, Sunday, and we went for almost 7, 8 years in a row, Saturday, Sunday.
That's awesome.
So we got some cool
That's
experiences. We got to see
awesome, man.
Phil's first. Funny enough, when Tiger chipped in on 16 on that famous shot that he hit from behind the green, it
Yeah.
was Easter
Yeah.
Sunday, and I think it gave him a 2 shot lead, and we're sitting on 18, like 4 rows back, and it was Easter Sunday, and my dad's like,
Yeah.
"Mom's gonna be pissed if we don't go home. He's got a 2 shot lead. He's not blowing this one." And so we left. He ends up bogeying the last two, and then goes to a playoff, and we're listening in the car, just livid.
Playoff.
So yeah, it was.
That's awesome, man. And you
God,
got to
sorry.
work hard for those seats too on 18. No, I know. I just I think I'm a second off on the connection, but no worries. The people who have never been to Augusta know, like, when you get to 18, or really you can get there as a patron and put your chair down, and people won't touch it. So if you get there early and put your chair down on the front row of 18, people will respect that. So you guys got some really good seats, man. You got to work hard for those. I can't believe you guys left, but hey, if you've
We were
gone
up at
7,
4
8 years in a
a.m.
row, I don't feel too bad for you.
Nah,
Yeah.
I don't
Oh
feel
yeah.
don't feel bad for me.
Yeah,
I've
man.
been
That's
very,
awesome.
very fortunate. Yeah, don't feel bad for me.
It's the best, man. It's my favorite place on earth. I mean, obviously, as somebody who's just a scratch weekend golfer who watches, is obsessed with the game. I mean, it's got to be just like, you just got to pinch yourself every time you walk in there. I mean, I don't know if you can say this, but have you ever been able to actually play it, or at least play a few holes when you've been there?
No, I actually a funny story. So I was supposed to play it the Sunday. Actually, it might have been. I think it was the Sunday of the week prior. So it was supposed to be me, the
Yeah.
kid I was caddying for, Kevin O'Connell, Jeff Knox, famous non-competing marker that plays the weekends, and Rich Beam.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm working at Quell at the time, and Saturday night I get a call from Kevin. He's like, "Hey, I don't know what's going on. I don't think you're going to be able to play tomorrow. The policy's changed, but you still can come and walk." And I get there, I have my clubs in the trunk just in case he's bullshitting with me.
Yeah.
And get there, and sure
Right.
enough, I did not play. I got to walk around and watch 3 other guys play. I mean, it was still a cool experience, but it was gut wrenching to find that out when I was that close to doing it, and I have not played since. So
Right. Oh, that's
but it's
got
all right.
that's got to be like just the absolute biggest kick in the nuts. That's got to be the worst.
And like I said, I've been fortunate enough to play some great places. So I mean, it's
Yeah,
don't feel bad for me. I've been lucky.
for sure. No, for sure, for sure. Have you been back since? Have you been back since then
I went with
as a
some
caddy?
not as a caddy. That's the only time I've caddied there. I went and
Okay.
watched a couple of years ago, I think. The funny thing is, so the year I caddied was 19. So Tigers win, and we had missed the cut. My buddy, he missed a 4-footer on the last, missed the cut on Friday.
Damn.
And we go out Saturday, and we're watching and kind of watch for like 30 minutes. And it's like, man, this feels like a funeral. Like it's not even that. It's the weirdest feeling ever. You're at Augusta, and you're like, this sucks. This isn't that fun. So we left. In hindsight, that was kind of a regret. I wish I'd have stayed, so I was able to see Tigers win. I'm a massive Tiger fan. He's my absolute favorite golfer.
Same.
So,
I mean, how old are you?
35. I just turned 35.
Yeah. Okay, I'm 30, so you're the same generation. Obviously, big Tiger.
Yeah.
It's either you're a Tiger or a Phil guy, kind of when you're, kind of that growing up. So, okay, do you have any crazy stories from that week? Like any crazy caddy stories? I guess what's the craziest story from Augusta that week?
I didn't really have any because I don't really know anybody. I know being at Quail, I knew Webb very well, so I'd set up a practice round with Webb, and I got to meet Paul Tesori at the time, and he was tremendous help as far as just what to do and what to look for on the golf course. And I think at the time he had caddied like 25 Masters. It might be even more. I know he's obviously caddied some since too. And I mean, he was as generous as he could possibly be helping out. So I mean, that's a cool story for me.
Yeah, for sure.
But other than that, nothing too crazy.
He's on top 5, man. I know he was on Webb's bag forever. I know he was on Cam Young for a couple months. Obviously on Tom Kim's bag now, but he's a legend, man. I feel like when you get the Mount Rushmore caddies, you got him, Ted Scott, Bones. A lot of these guys who have been around forever, just kind of legends of the caddy game. So that's awesome, man. Okay, so let's transition into kind of around Quail Holly, because I know you mentioned you work there. you worked there for a few years. I think it's been, I think you worked there for like what, 7 or 8 years or a little longer. No.
Yeah, I was there for 8. I still, even when I'm home, I'll go out there. If they call me the caddy, I always say yes because they've been very,
Yeah.
very good to me. They still let me practice occasionally, and it's hard to say no to caddying out there if they if
Yeah.
they
I
continue
feel
to
that.
be so nice to me.
I
I've got to
feel
be
that.
nice to them.
I feel it. Yeah. So you're based out of the Charlotte area then, no?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So I live in a town called Pineville. I'm like 15 minutes from Quail, so it's awesome. It's a good spot.
Cool. So, so what are your overall thoughts on the course? Obviously, I guess let's start here. What are your thoughts on the course post renovation?
I was a huge fan of the first and second hole before the renovation. So you used to have like a kind of 3 wood off the tee in a 9, 8 iron. If you're a little longer, a wedge in par four. Second hole is this
Hmm.
cool little drop shot downhill par three, maybe a
Yeah.
7 iron, 6 iron. But if you miss the green, you can make four quickly. It was a cool, easier way into the round start. Now it's
Yeah.
a 515-yard par four. If it's into the wind, guys are hitting 4 iron. If it's downwind, you can get it around the corner and you can have, I mean, I think
Yeah.
Bryson a couple years ago had like 80 yards in, which is
Yeah.
absurd. But and then the old 16 used to be a great par four. Now it's down by the water, still a great par four, just different.
Yes.
But it's still good. I mean,
Yeah. I
they
remember
they tried
the.
to make it harder, and
Yeah,
they
they made it.
accomplished
I
that.
mean, for the PGA, right? Sorry, I had to plug my laptop in. Yeah, I mean, I know because you used to not be able to even see the water on 16, right? Way back in the day, in like the early 2000, like 2010, and then they
Yeah, it
really
was.
took, at least from my memory. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was a good 70, 80 yards right. The green was 80 yards right of the water. I mean, it was not a. You couldn't see it. There was a ton of trees. They cut out a
That's what I
bunch.
thought. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that's what I thought. Because I remember specifically. The only reason I remember because, and I don't know if you're this much of a golf nut, but I remember this one year, Rory. This is pre renovation. Rory like bombed this drive over this bunker like 350, and I remember specifically that hole seeing it because I remember not being able to see the water, but I remember him flipping a wedge and three putting like classic, kind of classic Rory. But that's the only reason why I remember specifically that hole. And now they've redone. Obviously, they brought the water in. It's a really cool hole now, and it brings. And I don't know how much that water ever really comes into play for those guys. I mean, obviously for the weekend or the members, I'm sure it does, but it's still a great course. I mean, obviously it hosted the President's Cup. It has the signature event obviously every year, the PGA, and they're going to have another PGA next year. So I guess how good is that type of event for that area in Charlotte?
it's huge. I mean, for at least for Charlotte, it's kind of the kickoff to the summer. So, I mean, we go, especially with our sports teams being so bad recently. We go the Panthers season obviously ends very early, and then the Hornets never really make it to the playoffs. So it's kind of the kickoff to
Yeah,
our sporting season, and I mean, people show out. It's a packed crowd. I would say it's one of the best scenes in golf on the PGA Tour, especially on Friday, Saturday. It's pretty impressive. It's a place to be
yeah,
seen.
I love that, man. Yeah, I bet I love it because I love that area. I've got some family in Wilmington, North. My
Yeah,
wife's brother lives down there, so I've played a couple times in North Carolina, outside of Michigan. Obviously that's where I'm from. I'm a home state kind of guy, but North Carolina is some of my favorite golf to play. I mean, obviously Pinehurst. I mean, there's turn the. It's like a gas station every corner or a
yeah,
pharmacy, right? There's a good golf course every part of North Carolina. I feel like.
yeah, and I feel like every other golf course is a Donna Ross track. So I mean, we've got some
Yeah.
good history for sure.
Yeah, I know. Like even this, like I said, my brother-in-law lives in Wilmington, and the Wilmington like Muni is like it's awesome. It's like better than almost any country club I have here. It's a Donald Ross. I don't know if you've ever played it, but it's such a pure track. It's like $39. I mean, it's really really cool. I like I said, I love playing down there. I played Tobacco Road. I played a little bit in Greenville, but I'm going down again in the fall, so I'm gonna try and get out as much as I can. Like I said, it's some of my favorite golf to play down there.
Yeah.
So I guess what are your thoughts, kind of like let's do just I don't want to go too far in advance, but now that the major season's over, right? The Open Championship was just done. Let's do a little preview of the PGA next year. I guess what do you think of the course? Is the course going to change much from the signature event? Where because I know obviously it's fast and firm for that. Is it going to change much for the PGA? And I guess how much different is the course going to look when we see it next year for the major?
It shouldn't be too different. I would assume the PGA would grow the rough up. I know the PGA Tour event there's almost no rough. I mean, it's essentially a
Yeah,
first cut. Um, the ninth
yeah.
hole. I mean, I don't know if it's out there, but the ninth hole is about to extend about 30 yards. I was out there the other day, and there's a new tee that's it's a bit absurd. It's 530 now, par four.
That's insane, man.
But I would
It's
assume the
insane.
rough will be deep, and the greens are. I mean, they're this year was the first year after renovations. They redid the greens again, so they're very very firm. And I assume they'll be firm again next
Yeah.
week. I mean next year. But yeah, so I would assume
What's up?
8 under, 9 under, 10 under, something would win, unless Rory goes nuts again.
I think JT. Yeah, well, that's true. He does play well. I think JT won it at 8 under in 2017. I may be wrong, maybe
Yeah, that
7 under.
was a little
But
different though because it was August in Bermuda, so the rough was a little different.
yeah,
That Bermuda rough out there, it sits to the bottom every time.
yeah,
But I guess you can get the rye the same way if you want. I hope so. It deserves to have deep rough. That course is a lot better when it's it's challenging.
yeah, and yeah, oh yeah. I mean, it's so funny because like it's like a 7,500 yard course, just lined with bunkers off the tee, and these guys still go out there and just Rory. I mean, I know Rory shot 61 back. I assume that's still the course record. I don't think anyone's broken that, but
Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead.
My biggest complaint with the place though is like, and Rory takes advantage of it. So they built a new tee on 16 for because guys are blowing it over the right bunker. So they added another 20
Yeah,
yards. And the rumor is that Rory told our president, he's like, I'm still hitting it over that bunker. And he did.
that's so funny.
But it's a type of course where
That's awesome.
there's like 4 or 5 holes where if you covered another 20 yards, you landed on a flat, and then it goes another 15
Yeah,
yards. So your extra 20 turns into extra 35. So a guy like me, I
right.
fly at roughly 280. I'm hitting into upslips in some places, and they're just hitting plug-in. Rory, who flies it whatever he
Yeah,
wants to, hits it on the flat. Now he gets an extra 15, 20 to roll.
right,
So I'm now hitting 4 iron. He's hitting
right.
wedge. So
Wedge.
it
Yeah,
really does give an
exactly.
advantage to the long
What?
guys.
Yeah, yeah. And I got a question about something else different, but I'm just curious. What's your favorite hole out there? There's a lot of good ones.
Oh man, 12's my favorite. It's just tree lined. The trees shape the hole
Yeah, I
really
love that tee
nice.
shot.
The
Yeah,
the front pin makes the hole or front to back. If there's a front pin, it's half a shot easier than the back pin. It's such a you can make it a birdie hole with a front pin. You can make it you better hit 2 quality shots to make par with a back pin. Obviously, it's great.
yeah,
It's one of the best drivable holes in golf.
yeah. And it's a tee shot that's elevated, right? You're hitting down to like a dog leg right to an elevated multi-tiered green, 480, trees right, trees left. I mean, it's not, and the fairway is relatively narrow, especially the further you get up with how far these guys are hitting it.
Yeah,
It's a very difficult hole that some of these guys make look insanely easy. Guys like Rory,
yeah.
who can do
There's
that.
a couple trees down there that for the normal guy are in play, and for Rory just kind of skirts it past them.
Right,
So yeah, that hole's
right.
great.
Is there anyone I know? Webb Simpson's out there. Johnson Wagner's obviously out there. Is any other like big guys who are out there member wise?
Harold's out there now. Mackenzie Hughes has been floating around a little bit. Yeah, it's a good spot.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Harold Barner. I assume that's who you're
Yep,
talking about, right? Charlotte
yep,
guy.
yeah. He's
Cool. One one question I'm just before we get into today's video, very excited to announce the official sponsor of the Scratch Golf Show, Core Chiropractic and Performance Center. Core Chiropractic and Performance Center is a local family-owned business in Livonia, Michigan. Doctors Billy and Maddie Bonanno offer a wide variety of services from chiropractic, injury, rehabilitation, and sports performance. Dr. Maddie works with all things women's health, pregnancy, and postpartum care. My wife and I see Dr. Billy and Dr. Maddie on a regular basis. Cannot recommend their services enough. Visit corecpc.com and schedule your free consultation with them. Also mention the Scratch Golf Show upon arrival to receive a discount on your first appointment. Thank you. Genuinely curious, and this is kind of off the agenda, but now that we're talking about it, what are your thoughts on the rollback
on the
for
golf
the
ball
ball?
rollback. I mean,
Yeah,
at first I was really, really against it, and now I'm seeing some of these numbers these kids are hitting it, and I'm
yeah,
like, I mean, I don't want it to affect the normal everyday golfer, but some of these, I mean, if you look at PGA Tour courses. I know they're not. We've been a little bit unlucky this year with weather. A lot of really courses that were firm at the beginning of the week and rain comes on Tuesday and they're soft and 25 under wins. But seeing 25 under win every week
Yeah,
is getting a little, to me, getting a little old. I mean, I like seeing 5 under win. I mean, the Open Championship was awesome to
I
me.
agree.
That was fantastic.
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree. I go back and forth. I hate the rollback for a couple different reasons. One, I don't think it's just specifically the ball. I mean, you just look at guys like, when Tiger was coming up, Tiger was the only one who was an athlete. He was the only one who was in the gym. Like, no offense, like Johnson was a guy who kept it a little thicker, liked to party. Like that was that kind of era of guys. Now you guys come out, you get guys like Gordon Sargent, you get all these young guys who just, it's all flexibility and
Yeah.
speed. And the work that these guys are doing, and yes, I know it's the ball, and it's also the driver head too. I mean, there's a ton of different factors, and I get why they're trying to go after the ball, but the technology, the athletic. I mean, every single one of these guys, you never see, a guy who's not kind of athletic, right? Even Rory famously has lost a ton of. I remember chubby Rory. His first win at Quail Hollow, 2011. You got chubby,
Yeah.
chunky Rory with the curly hair. Now he's ripped with the six pack. You got Brooks. You got all these guys are athletes now, and personally, I just think it's a lot of the R&D. I don't think is gonna like I don't the offset of the cost. I think is going to affect us, kind of the people who are buying the ball, who aren't going to be playing the balls. Because I'm not someone who plays. I mean, I play a little competitive, but I'd rather play a money game on the weekend. I'm not going to be playing that ball. I'm
No.
going to play the ball that I want to play. So it's just it's. I just think it's creating a divide for the game, but I see both sides of it, right? I see both sides. I just don't get why you want to change something for the top 0.5 to top 1% of the game. But at the end of the day, they're going to be the people who are going to be playing.
Yeah.
So I can see both
My
sides.
thing is too. I want to see it go back to you are rewarded for hitting the center of the club face. Now, I mean, at least with the woods, they're so forgiving. Like
Yeah.
you can miss the center of the face and still hit
Yeah.
it. You still get 170 ball speed and
Straight.
yeah, in the fairway.
Yeah.
Whereas I remember like playing junior golf. You're playing. I mean, I'm old enough to play a lot of golf ball, and those. I think my one of my
Yeah.
first drivers was probably 975D, and I mean, you better hit the center of the face,
Yep.
or it was going to
Exactly.
spin. Like if you towed one, it was going left. It was going in the left rough. If you hit it off the heel, it was going 40 yards shorter and right. I mean, I just don't think
Yeah.
there's enough penalty for a miss hit anymore either.
No, I agree. I mean, I hit the ball far. I there's a 580 par five today. I went 340 off the tee, 4 iron, center of the green, two putt. But it's the technology. They got these triple diamond. I mean, I play the paradigm triple diamond head. These technologies, just like these guys can hit it straight in the air with no spin, and it makes no sense of why you should be able to do that. Just launch it straight up, land it, and still get
Yeah,
roll. Like you said, even like I feel like sometimes I hit the high toe or the heel, and I'm still hitting it, like you said, 280, 290, even into the wind. And I agree. I mean, personally, I don't mind
yeah,
it because I don't hit the sub center as often as those guys do. But I agree. I think almost the driver head should be looked at more than the ball. I mean, I play the mini driver, so even I think like that smaller head still looks like a big enough head for a driver, and that thing still goes 310. So I just think there are other things that can be looked at, but whatever. I don't want to go down that tangent. Let's transition back to the fun stuff, the cool stuff. So you started, you mentioned you caddy for Johnson Wagner for a couple of years. He's somebody who has, like I said, really improved the live from. He's, obviously he's a multi-time PGA Tour winner, really fun, cool guy, but has really kind of blossomed in this commentary role. So I'm curious your thoughts on him and what he's done for the Golf Channel and the broadcast, and I guess just share your thoughts on him.
man. I mean, what you see now on TV is who he is. I mean, he's able to showcase his personality now too. So like on obviously you see a guy playing professional golf. It's not necessarily their personality off the golf course, and him on camera,
Right.
it kind of is when he's very self-deprecating type of human, and obviously we're seeing
Yeah.
that with his shots that although he's improved recently, but
Yeah.
yeah, his
Yeah.
that's his personality. If anybody that knows him off the golf course, and they'll tell you he's fun. He likes to have a good time, and he jokes a lot. I know he on the golf course say there's a false front, and even in tournament golf, his playing competitors hit one close to the false front, stop. He'll look up and be like, "Oh nope, there it comes." and they'll look up and they're like, "Fuck you, Johnson."
He's awesome, man. I was
He's
listening to, I don't know if you know who Sub 70 is. He was on the Sub 70 podcast. He was talking about how he's like how I think when it first started was at Sawgrass, right? When Rory hit it in the thing, and he's like ripping golf
yeah,
balls at this ledge, and he's like, yeah, he's like, I just got the idea. He's like, I just want to go out there. I'm just gonna throw balls and try and reenact it. And now it's so funny to see how far it's come. You know, you saw him at the U.S. Open with Bryson hitting the shots out of the bunker. You know, I couldn't imagine trying to hit that 55-yard bunker shot with knowing the kind of, you know, obviously he's had struggles with the wedge, not blading it into that bad clubhouse back there. Props on him. And it's been so cool to see. Like I said, he's a really funny guy. I love watching him. I'd love to have him on the pod someday, Johnson. If you end up seeing this, open invite to come on. But it's really cool to see him blossom in that commentary. You know, too often, and I feel like a lot of the old guard in golf, you kind of get the, you know, I don't want to say stuffy, but the old country club. It's good to see like a fresh face, younger personality, and kind of bringing that energy into that role, because I really think it's needed for the golf for that type of role. So it's been really awesome to see.
and honestly, back to the bunker shot with Bryson, I think it gets lost. He had one of the funniest. I thought one of the funniest comments as soon as he grabbed the trophy from him. He's like, "Well, now I'm not going to win the U.S. Open," and I think it went over a lot of people's heads. I thought as soon as he said that, I was tearing. It was funny as shit.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, let's talk about a couple. I mean, you got to have some good stories about him. I know you guys are good friends off the course. You got to have some good stories when you guys are caddying. So, is there anything that you could share? I mean, you don't got to keep PG. I don't really give a fuck. I'm here for the content. So, if there's any really good stories, we'd love to hear them.
Well, I know at least on the golf course, the one I'll always remember. We were playing Wyndham. He's playing off past champion status, I think, that year, and I think we needed maybe a top 20 to move into that 126 to 150 category. And on Friday, we've got,
Yeah.
I think we have 6 holes left. 13's at Sedgefields, this dogleg left par 4. It's a 3-wood off the tee, blind tee shot. Hits it right rough, which is the worst spot you can hit it on that hole. The rough's nasty. The pin's back right. He chunks this, or not chunks it, but the grass grabs it and he hits it short right of the green. Immediately snaps the 8-iron over his knee, hands it to him. He stuffed it in the bag. Chips it. He chips it to 40 feet, drains it for par. We're 4 off the cut line. Makes par on 14. 15's a very short par 5. It's like a 4-iron second shot. Hits it like 25 feet, makes birdie. We're 3 off the cut line. 16's a par 3. It's a perfect 8-iron, which is now in the side of the bag, snapped. And the pin's tucked over a bunker, and he's like, "Well, what is it? Is it 7 or 9?" And I'm like, "Well, I think we got to hit the 9 hard because 7's it's tucked over the bunker. We got to hit something with some spin." Well, he rips 9-iron, the best 9-iron of his life. It's covers the bunker by maybe 2 yards, makes the putt for birdie. So we're 2 off the cut line. 17, he hits it to like 8 feet, makes birdie. And then we get to 18, pins back right on this plateau. He hits it front right. He's got a 50-footer up and over this plateau and cans it for birdie to make the cut. He's like, "Oh, I guess I got to call Caddie. I guess I got to call Caddie to get my 8-iron, see if she can bring it up." Caddie's his wife, and he didn't end up finishing top 20 that week, but it was a really cool. And if you're ever in a group when guys are fighting to make the cut line of the PGA Tour, everyone in the group's pulling for you. So when it happens, like I think we were playing with Cameron Percy.
Oh, yeah.
I forget who else was in our group, but Cameron Percy's as pumped as Johnson is to make the cut. It was just everybody's pulling for each other at that point. It's cool.
Yeah.
But then recently off the golf course.
Yeah, I love it, man. I'm a big. I don't know.
Recently off the golf course in Detroit a couple weeks ago, I see him and he's enjoying dinner. He's like, "Oh, let's go grab a drink." And we end up at this karaoke bar. And we end up leaving. Nothing happened. Nobody drank or nobody sang or anything. But the next morning, I was like, "Man, you were great last night." He's like, "I didn't sing." I'm like, "Yeah, you did." And I was like, and he was like, "I did?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just kidding." And he was like, Bud at the time was like, "Man, you should have let that one go. That would have been great for him to remember that." To think he sang all night.
What bar did you go to when you were here? I'm curious. Was it Cliff Bells?
No, it was right beside the Shinola Hotel.
Do you remember the name?
The bartender at Shinola recommended it to us.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was a cool little spot. It was like a little
I know
speakeasy.
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah, man, I know exactly what you're talking about. Obviously, I'm 30 minutes
Yeah.
outside of Detroit. Good to hear you give it Detroit a shout out. I hope you enjoyed your time here when you were at the Rocket. That's awesome, man. Awesome. I appreciate you sharing that with us. So let's talk about a little bit how you went from transitioning from Johnson's bag to Harrison's bag. How did you? I know you talked about it on the other podcast, but how did you get fired or somewhat get fired from Johnson and then end up working with Harrison?
I tell people that he retired. He tells people he fired me, which he fired
Yeah,
me. Um, he, we're at
yeah,
Quail one day. He's like, "Hey, can we talk?" He's like, "I think I'm going to take TJ, my brother, to the next event." And I'm like, "Okay, great. I mean, good luck. Like, thanks for everything." Like, it was very cordial, obviously.
yeah,
And a friend of mine's an agent, and I texted him about if he had any players looking for a caddy, and he hooked me up with Harrison, and I finished the last, I think, 5 or 6 events on the Corn Ferry with Harrison. I think he was 27th on their list at the time, and 25 at the time got through. Our first week, he finished ninth, and then 3 or 4 weeks later, he finished fourth in Utah to pretty much lock it up. And then I was fortunate he kept me for the PGA Tour's rookie season. And then
yeah.
so we had almost 2 years PGA Tour, and then I was somewhat offered the opportunity with Bud, and it was a situation I couldn't really say no to. I mean, obviously, before he got hurt, Bud was a hell of a player, and I think he was
Yeah,
53rd in the world or somewhere close to the top 50 at one point.
yeah,
And kind of injuries set him back a little bit, but it was an opportunity I couldn't really pass up.
yeah. So how did your relationship start with Bud?
Uh, so,
How did you guys get in touch?
so we had just finished Myrtle Beach, me and Harrison, and he missed the cut, and somebody had asked if I was interested in this. I said, yeah. And then I reached out to Zach Blair and his caddy, Nick, like, hey, is there anything you can do to
Yeah,
help? Well, they share the same agent. Zach made a phone call, and they both like to joke that they're my agent because they got me the job in literally 2 minutes.
yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
I started with Bud in Canada, and I guess he liked me enough to keep me going. We were on a kind of a 3 week trial and surpassed the 3 weeks. So I think we're doing all right, at least for now.
Nice, man.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Like I said, I know we shared DMs obviously, but when I saw Bud on the range, it was cool to see him. Honestly, I didn't even recognize him. It was kind of weird. I'm so used to seeing him with the kind of the longer hair, the younger face. Now he was like obviously older. I mean, I'm older too. It is what it is. I ended up looping for Matt McNeely that day, but it was super cool to see Bud. Obviously, he's like I said, he was kind of that next up and comer way back when. That's awesome, man. He's a good guy. Hopefully, you guys have a good relationship. Hopefully, he gets it done, and it'd be good to see him play well. Kind of after everything that happened, like he was so like we just talked. He was so fucking good. He deserves to have a good career, kind of now that he's healthy again. So, good. Best of luck to you guys. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your week. I know I had Willie on. Obviously, we talked a little bit about it, but what does your week look like from when you arrive to the event to before you tee off Thursday? How much prep work are you doing? When are you getting the course? Stuff like that.
Like this week, for example, he wasn't coming in until later on Monday, so he wasn't going to do anything Monday. I fortunately I'd already set up the golf or had golf set up from Nick, and so I knew we were playing golf Monday,
Yeah,
so I flew in Sunday night. We went out to Twin Cities, the golf course, for a little bit Monday before we played. And
yeah,
but a typical week, if I'm not playing or if he's not playing on Monday, I'll go out and just walk, make sure everything's kind of the golf course is any changes being made, any certain areas that are maybe rougher than they used to be, or the rough's thicker than it used to be, or like Dallas is a perfect example. Last year they had a little bit of tough time coming out of the winter, so there was a lot of dead spots and certain spots you didn't really want to miss. So you're just
yeah,
kind of checking out, seeing good. I mean, places that might have been okay to miss it previous years that aren't anymore just because of the condition. So
mm,
then Tuesday, if he's not in the pro am on Wednesday, at least with Bud, he's going to play everything. He's going to play all 18 because he hasn't played some of these
yeah,
courses in 3, 4, 5 years. Um,
right,
so we'll go play 18 and just kind of cruise. And then Wednesday it's just a practice day because he hasn't been getting in many pro ams. So like today it was maybe a
okay.
3, 4 hour practice session, just working on tidying up everything and getting ready to roll for Thursday.
I know you guys just started, but like when he's on the range or doing practice stuff, like is he like relying on you at all? Because obviously you're a relatively good golfer as well. Is he like asking you swing tips, swing advice, or like putting? I mean, really anything, chipping?
Not necessarily advice. Like I'll do some video work, or I'll video for him, and he'll ask me my opinion on certain things.
Yeah,
But not necessarily. Like his coach is out there today, and he'll come out occasionally. But yeah, I mean,
yeah,
he's as sharp golf mind as there is. He's got his feels. He doesn't need my help.
yeah.
He's very sharp. I mean, he's the epitome of a professional.
Yeah. So for putting, when you guys are putting like in a tournament, are you doing any of the reading or because I know Willie reads all Sungjae's putts, but some guys are just different. How do you guys work when you're putting?
Man, I read almost none. So I'd say like John Deere was our last event. I think I read one putt all week. Um,
Mhm.
Obviously, I think the first week together, I read maybe two or three. It's just hit or miss. I mean, if it's one that he's unsure on, he reads them great. So there's why have a second opinion if you're pretty confident on it? You can only get too much information. So like, if it's one that
Right.
he's a little hesitant on, he'll call me in, and hopefully I can reassure. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
You don't want to have two people on different reads. But if
for
you
sure.
do, I mean,
For sure. Then it's
as a
just
caddy, you
then
got to be confident enough to be like, "Hey, man, I really just don't see that."
yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing which is wild to me is like you see some of these caddies like I think it was I don't know if it's Colin Morikawa and his caddy, but it's just top of mind where like there'll be multiple times where he'll be over the ball and he'll call him off the shot because either the wind flipped and like you guys I mean you guys but like players are so precise where like that 2 or 3 miles an hour of wind can affect like their shot, which is insane to think about. But like it's I mean you got it like that's part of the job when you got like sometimes you got to step in and kind of tell them like hey I don't see that or this isn't the right club, which is wild to think about because in I don't tell my boss like hey like I think you should do this differently, right? Which is wild to think
And
about.
also, it could be a 2 second time where you have to tell him to call him off.
Right,
Where if that 2 seconds
right,
expires, it's like, all right, well, he's in go mode. I'm not calling him off yet or now. So
right.
I mean, it's tough. I mean,
Yeah. So
go ahead, you're good.
how much of it like when you like let's say he has a bad shot right or whatever wrong club like how much of it do you just and it may not be for Bud maybe for Harrison or Johnson because I know you guys started but how much of it are you just like eating shit where it's just like damn like I fucked up there I know he's mad and maybe it wasn't my fault but I'm just gonna take it because I know that's just what I got to do as a caddy.
Well, Bud, at least for what I've seen, is never going to blame. We had a situation at Rocket Mortgage this year on. You're familiar with that golf course on hole 6.
Yeah,
The pin was tucked right over the slope, and I had just remembered from previous years that we wanted to be pin high putting, and I told him we were in the right rough, and he's maybe got a flyer, might not fly. It's kind of an iffy situation. I told him I was like, hey, we got to get it to pin high, and he hits it flies a little bit, and it gets past pin high, and he has an impossible chip, and I'm like, or he chips it past and misses the
yeah,
putt. And he looks at me. He goes, "Did you say to get past pin high or short of pin high?" I was like, "Man, that's on me. I said get it past pin high. I'm looking at it now. Like short left of the green would have been perfect, chipping straight up the hill." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "It's all right. I just did a bad chip." And I'm like, I said, "No, dude, that's on me." Like, there's sometimes you just got to straight up
yeah,
own it. He's not going to blame me, but
yeah,
yeah, just straight up own it. I think you get more respect if you own it.
yeah, yeah. For sure. So, like outside of like with Bud, like on a week to week basis, like are you just flying like commercial, like to event? Like do you guys fly together? What does your like travel look like, and when you're actually getting to the tour
I mean,
stops?
it all depends. I mean, so Canada was a 1 week. We had Canada and then a couple weeks off. So I'm flying up to Canada. That was the
Right, right.
first time we had worked together. And then he's on his own schedule. I'm flying from Charlotte. He's flying from Florida. And then 2 weeks off, and then Detroit. Obviously, I'm flying from Charlotte. He's flying from Florida. We're just on our own. But then Detroit to
Yeah,
John Deere is a little bit of a weird situation. You can fly, but you have to connect in Chicago to get to Moline, or
yeah,
you can drive, and it's like a 6 hour drive. We were fortunate he helped me get to John Deere. It wasn't commercial, which was nice.
cool, nice.
I was
PGA.
supposed to drive,
Nice.
and
Yeah.
it
Oh
was
yeah. I
something.
know.
It was something I couldn't say no to. He's like, "Do you want? You want to go?" I'm like, "Yes, I do."
Yeah, I feel that, man. Feel that. Never been on one, but I bet it's got to be a cool
It's
experience.
just.
So, who do you like? Do you like who?
I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say it's just so easy. You pull up to the plane, you hop on, you
Yeah.
hop off the plane, your
You
car's
just.
there.
Yep. Yep. That's awesome. So, who do you hang out with on the tour? Like, do you have a close group of caddy friends? Because I know y'all are got a pretty tight inner circle.
Yeah. So I keep mentioning Zach Blair and his caddy Nick, the Russian. I play a
Yeah.
lot of golf with him as much as I can. We don't necessarily stay together a lot, but then a caddy name, his nickname's Bambi. His name's Ron Levin. I stay with him occasionally. He caddied for Todd Hamilton in the British Open when he won. Um, but kind of the guys that kind of helped me
Okay.
out when I first started, Matt Hauser, he was Johnson's longtime caddy, and he was kind of a mentor to me early on. Just him being close to Johnson, I got to see him a lot, and he just helped me out a ton. So I hang out with him a bit. He's injured right now, but he's coming back soon, hopefully. And then Damian Lopez, who's actually filling in for Hauser, stayed with him a little bit. Hung out last, or I guess at John Deere, but that's kind of my crew. And then Justin Lauer's caddy I hang out with quite a bit. Chad Gonzalez, he's a good dude too.
Cool.
But
Do you guys get any money games when you guys are all kind of on the same week when you're in
we
town?
try to. I mean, there's there's a group of probably I don't know 15 guys that play. I haven't really got a set group that I play with. I forgot to mention a good buddy of mine from Charlotte, David Cook. He caddies for Webb now. Uh, whenever but
Okay.
Webb plays so infrequently, I don't get to see him as much.
Right. Right. Right.
But yeah, so we try to get some games going. I know some guys played golf today. It's tough. I play almost never now because I have no motivation once I put the bag away, especially with
I feel
with no
that.
tournaments
I feel
coming
that.
up. Like for me, it's hard if I don't have something to work towards. I feel like if I signed up
Yeah.
for something, I might start practicing and playing a little bit. But I go play right now, and it's so bad. It's not that much fun. I still enjoy it.
I
I
feel
still
that.
enjoy it, but I get
I
so
feel that.
frustrated.
I'm a competitor.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm the same way, man. I'm Mexican Italian. I wouldn't say I'm close to Sergio, but I'm a John Rahm where I get the f bombs. I'm cursing at myself. I just it's you just and you get it because you're a good player. Like when you get to like I think I'm like currently I've been bouncing around like a 0 + 1, but when you get to that good, you know what good shots feel like, and when you hit bad ones, when you know you can hit good ones, that's the most frustrating thing as a golfer. And for me, it's just more I hate making uncommitted swings. Like I can live with a bad shot. It's more of I should have stepped off because it was the bad shot or I just wasn't committed. That's the shit that pisses me off more than anything. But I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because we could spend all day
Well, and that
there.
was me on Monday. Like I set up to these shots. I know I want to hit this little 2 yard ball that falls right, a little fade. I'm lining up left of it, and then I hit this shot that hooks 20 yards. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like I know how to hit this shot. I used to be able to hit this shot, and now I can't even
Yeah.
come within 20 yards of where I'm looking. Like it just I could still scrape it around, but it is so frustrating playing because it used to be even when I first started caddying. Obviously, I was still somewhat sharp, and I could go shoot 65 or I could go shoot
Yeah.
78, and I didn't really get that pissed off at the 78s. Now I get livid with the 78 because I know I can't shoot 65. So
Right. Yeah, I feel that. Feel that. Feel that. All right, let's talk a little bit about speaking of 65s. Not to great transition. Let's talk about a Sunday 65 and the Open Championship. Did you watch a ton this weekend? I'm curious. It sounded like you loved it. I loved it. I'm curious your thoughts on just overall thoughts on the Open Championship this
I,
weekend that just
I
passed.
watched all of it. Bud took the last 2 weeks off, so I was glued to the TV for. And Scottish was one of my favorite tournaments of the year last year.
Yeah,
So because I got to go caddy and I love
me
Scotland,
too. I
and
love it.
so I was glued to the TV both
Yeah,
weeks. The Open Championship I thought was incredible. I know Shane Lowry complained about the
yeah,
setup on Saturday, but man, you don't get to see that very often. I mean, there's guys on tour. I mean, Zach Blair's a perfect example. He doesn't hit it far. There's times where he has 3 wood into greens on a normal week. I don't understand why you would complain about having a 3 wood into a green. But I love the carnage. I
yeah.
mean, you had to hit quality golf shots. Billy Horschel went
Me
out
too.
and what did he shoot 68 or 69 on Saturday? I mean,
Yeah.
when there's bad weather at the Open Championship, it's my favorite major of the year.
Yeah, and a couple things I want to touch on before I keep going. One, the thing that really kind of ticked me off was when Shane Lowry did that thing. Like, first of all, how are they supposed to the way his comments were? And I get it. Like, he just had a bad round. He's playing for
Yeah,
the
he's
Open
frustrated.
Championship. I get he's frustrated. Probably shouldn't stick a mic in his face, especially someone who's like angry like him. But like, what did he want them to do? Did he want them to move the tees up halfway through the round? Like, the guys in the morning were hitting, like, I think Siwoo. I mean, you watch Siwoo aced 17 in the morning with
Yeah,
forehand, and the last group's hitting driver. Like, they can't predict that, and that's the Open Championship. And I think I saw in your interview you deleted Twitter. I'm active on Twitter. I engage in a lot of the
I
stuff,
still
but
have Twitter. I just don't have a
a
personal
lot of
account.
the takes around Twitter.
I said I still have Twitter. I just
That's
don't have.
fair.
I
That's
don't have an
fair. I just
account that
like a
has
lot.
me associated with it anymore because I get too
That's
heated.
fair. That's fair. I trust me. Same. I saw a lot of people who were bitching about the draw and the weather. Like, I hate how the weather decides the tournament. I'm like, first of all, are all of you just watching the British Open? Like, this has been around. This is like the oldest tournament ever. Like, this isn't a new thing. Like, the draw is not just a new thing. Like, you either get the bad end of the draw, and like Justin Rose, shit out of the draw,
Yep.
-5. One back going into the weekend, played his ass off. Like, that's just the way the tournament's set up, and you're just gonna have to go out there and you're gonna have to fight to make pars. But that's a major, like, that's how a major should be played. Like, you got the guys in the morning on Saturday got a great end of the draw, and then you got Shane Lowry struggling to shoot 77, and then Sam Burns, who shot 65 on Saturday, shot 80 on Sunday. Like, it all ends up leveling out. So
Yeah.
I just, Twitter was rampant this weekend. I loved it. I thought it was a great tournament. It's my favorite. Like, I love these 2 weeks. I love waking up at the ass crack of dawn. I was up at 3 all last week
Same.
watching, and I usually wake up early to watch the Scottish. They didn't have it on. I'm a sicko, man. I love it. But yeah, I thought it was a great tournament. I really did. I love the course. It's probably one of my more favorite ones in the Rota. I didn't get to watch it a ton when I was in 2016, but it was awesome. It was a great tournament, in my opinion, and good for X-Men to winning. I mean, he went out there and won that thing.
100%. And I mean, I had a buddy text me the other day. He's like, "Who wins more majors, Xander or Scotty?" And I mean, it's a tough call now. I mean, obviously Scotty
Yeah.
hits it so good, but Xander putts better. So if I was a betting man, I think I would bet on Xander to win more majors. I don't know. I thought it was a great question.
That That's so funny that you say that, because I saw, that was another thing that was going rampant on Twitter this weekend was the Player of the Year discussion. Who wins Player of the Year? Xander with 2 majors or Scotty with a major? A zillion wins in the players. And I'm like, I don't think, one, I don't really care about Player of the Year. Like, it can go either way. But I posed the same question on Twitter. I'm like, who? The real question is, one, they both had a great season. Like, we're nitpicking here, right? Scotty won a major and he had 6 wins, won every signature event. But I think where they are in their career, it was both relative. Xander won one and then got the second one. Scotty still has 2 majors.
Yeah,
But I posed the same question. Who do we think is going to have more majors? And at this point, 7 weeks ago, you would have said Scotty, no doubt, because Xander couldn't get the big one
yep.
done. Then he got PGA, right? Now he's got, and a stat that I thought was wild is Xander missed the cut, and I want to say the 2022 Masters, and he's made every major since then, he's top 20. And then obviously he's got 2 wins and 2 top 10s this year, which is wild how consistent his game is. And now that he's gone out there and gotten it done, like, he took that thing. Like, people don't realize that back nine on Sunday was averaging like 38,
Yeah.
and he went out there and shot 31, birdied I think 3 of the 4 hardest holes on the course that day, and went out there and took that thing. Because Billy Horschel, if you'd have told Billy Horschel, said, "Hey, I'm going to shoot 300 today," I would have said he's going to win every time, because I thought
By a
6, 7 under was
couple.
going to win. Same with Justin
Yeah.
Rose. I go out there, I shoot 67. Xander went out there and took that thing, and good for him. So I love it. And you think Xander's going to have more at the end of their career?
I,
Is what you'd
I
say?
would think so, just based on how well he putts. But then you look at Scotty, and he hits it so good. He's top 10 in ball striking every week. Even if he putts
Right.
poorly, I think he's still in it. He's not out of it. I mean, he had some
Yeah.
mistakes that you don't ever see him make this past week, and he was, what did he finish, ninth?
Right.
So I mean,
Yeah.
he's always in it. I know he had the Valhalla situation, and then what was it,
Yeah.
U.S. Open? He didn't play very well,
Yeah.
but he hits it so good. I
Right.
just think he's always going to be there. But at the same time, he doesn't necessarily putt very well. And Xander seems to, now that he's got it off his back, the closing one out. Now he's got two. I guess just
Yeah.
injuries would be the only thing holding him back.
Yeah. It's interesting too because like there are ways you can go with the argument, or not even go into the argument, but Scotty obviously gets to play Augusta for the rest of his life.
Yeah,
Like Xander, as good as he is, like he could lose it tomorrow. Scotty, no matter what, he gets to, that's a major you can pencil in. But Xander now can play the Open until he's 60.
the
The
PGA.
PGA, I'm pretty sure he's in for life. Not that Scotty would never, but I'm curious. I think I set the number for both at 5.5. I think it's a fair
That's
number.
fair.
I think Xander, 2 legs of the Grand Slam. I think inevitably he's got to get a Masters. He always plays
Yep.
well at Augusta, right? And you think as well as he strikes it, putts it, chips it, he'll eventually run into a U.S. Open. I mean, he had it going at Pinehurst this year. So it'll be interesting, especially now that he's got 2 legs of the Slam done. I think it's a good question. I think arguably those two and Bryson, are kind of the 3 best Americans right now, clearly, and I think between those 3, there's going to be a lot of majors won over the next few years. And American golf's in a really, really good spot. So
I agree. I mean, well, we won. How many straight of Americans won majors? Like 7.
7.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7. Yep. Okay. I know we've already kept you for far too long. Let's get some rapid fires in here, and then I'll let you go,
No,
man. I
you're
really
good,
appreciate the time, David. So let's start favorite tour event.
man. That question's asked a
It,
lot
does,
to
it doesn't
players,
have to
and
be a stop for a caddy. It could just be your.
I honestly I love Truckee,
Go ahead.
California, the Barracuda. I think that's a. I honestly wish it was a full field, full point event. I mean, I think Truckee,
Yeah,
California is as cool as it gets. Obviously, I'm biased, and Charlotte is up there as well. But one that doesn't get talked
fair
about a
enough.
lot, Truckee, is very cool.
Yeah, I love the Stableford score. Obviously, Nick Dunlap just took down the Cuda. I don't know if you know. I'm assuming if you know who Ryan French Monday Q
Yeah,
is. Big Barracuda guy. I love Ryan. He does a great job covering it. So I love the Cuda. I wish they did some more Stableford scoring and some real event. I think it just makes it so much more fun from the viewer perspective, and
yeah.
obviously from a player. I know you can kind of jump right in, but make a couple birdies and eagle, and all of a sudden you're in the lead, which is and I think that's like you said a very underrated tournament. Okay, favorite golf course. It doesn't have to be PGA Tour. It could be any course you played.
Broke up just a little. I think you're frozen.
My next question was favorite course. Doesn't have to be a tour stop. Could be any course you played.
That's a tough question too. I've been, like I said, I've been very fortunate. I've played Cypress Point. I've played Pine Valley. Those are hard to say. They're not
Oof.
my favorites,
Yeah.
but one that people don't talk about a whole lot that I always try to rep is Palmetto Golf Club in Aiken, just outside of
Oh yeah.
Augusta, Aiken, South Carolina. That's one of my all time favorites. And we were talking about Scottish Open earlier. North Barracks, very high up there for me too. That place is
North B.
incredible.
Yeah. Willie, man, I know Willie was all over there when he was in Scotland. Man, he was posting it every day. He was playing golf there.
I think he played
That's
like
awesome.
7 rounds that week.
Yeah. Yeah, Palmetto, man. Do you are you a Kisner guy? Then I mean, I'm assuming if you live in kind of that area, and if you're from Aiken, or if you're familiar with Aiken, that's Kisner's
I don't
territory.
know. I don't know Kisner that well. His caddy that he just started with recently,
Dewey.
I'm very good friends with. No, he so Dewey is with Sep now. His new caddy, this guy named Kemp Hooper, he's caddied at Augusta and Tree Farm where
Oh, cool.
Zach Blair started. But I've known him for a while, just playing an amateur golf. He's caddied for some people I've played with, and he's from Aiken. Um, but yeah, I don't know Kisner that well at all, really, to be honest. But I used to play the Palmetto Am every year. I played it, I think, 11 years in a row. It's actually going on
Nice.
this week. Wish I was
Tree
playing,
Farm, man.
although I couldn't
I
compete.
know you're a Zach Blair guy. That Tree Farm course looks fucking sweet. I want to been wanting to get out there. I don't know, maybe maybe I'll have to ask you to give you an intro to Zach sometime. But I joke, but that course looks fucking awesome, man. I'm assuming you've gotten out there, but that course looks sweet.
It is awesome. I've been fortunate to go out there a few times, and obviously or not obviously, but it's not quite complete as far as the clubhouse and cottages go. But
Yeah,
man, Zach's biggest thing is just having a cool hang, and it's one of the best hangs in golf. It's
yeah.
you go out, you play in the morning, you play your own ball, and then they recommend in the afternoon you play again, and you play foursome, so alternate shot, and so you go out in a four ball playing 2 man alternate shot, and you'll play in 2 hours and 30 minutes, three
That's
hours,
awesome,
and
man.
it's a blast.
Where's it at again?
It's in Aiken, or just outside of Aiken. I'm
Aiken.
not
Okay,
sure. I
that's what I
forget what
thought.
the town it's called, but it's like 15 minutes outside of Aiken.
Cool. Okay, what's your best round? Lowest round?
Lowest round, I've shot 62 at Quail from the members tee a couple times with
Damn.
our we got a group that plays every day. Tournament round, shot 64 at Palmetto a few years back, and I missed two tap ins that day. I missed two
Damn.
2.5 footers,
You got
so
some
I
game,
kicked
man. I
myself
mean,
on that one.
you got some game. I know you mentioned you never kind of dabble with the pro scene, but 62, man, that's I mean there's guys who can take it deep, and then there's guys who can take it deep, and 62 is a impressive number, man. I'm 67, but 62 is a whole different kind of golf that game is.
It's from the members tee, so I mean it's wedges all day, and every par five is reachable. But you still got to make putts. But
Yeah, you just got to make
I don't
shots. I
claim those
mean,
as my. I think the 64 at Palmetto is my best round
fair
I've played.
enough.
It
Yeah,
was good.
I played a pitch and putt today, 3,000 yards, from 9 from the back tees, wedge every part. I shot bogey free 30, 3 under. So you still got to hit shots and make putts at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Just because it's short doesn't mean it's easy. Okay. What's in the bag? What kind of clubs do you play?
I've always been, well, I wouldn't say always been, for the most part, I've always been a Titleist guy. TaylorMade helped me out for a bit
Same.
in the middle, probably 15, 16, 17. And then once I kind of stopped playing as much competitively, I went back to playing Titleist. They've always been good to me as well.
Sweet,
So
man.
I haven't updated my equipment really, though. I've still got 2 generations old driver. I need to get something new.
You play AP2s?
I play the
CBs?
716 MBs, the MBs.
Oh,
I can't hit them. I
okay,
can't
yeah.
hit them anymore, but they are in the bag. Did it go? You're still there?
How many hole ones you got?
I have 8.
Yeah, we're good.
I haven't made one in a few years, but I have 8.
8.
2
I
double
got
eagles.
I got fucking zero. What's your 2 double eagles? Damn, dude, it's
Yeah.
wild to me. Like I'm good. Like I said, I'm a 0+1, but I've never had one. That's wild that people have so many.
Sorry. Say that again. It broke up a touch.
I was just gonna say, that's wild that you've got 8 and 2 double eagles. I've never had one. Like I said, I'm a pretty good golfer, but it's wild to me that I know Willie said he had like 20. I can't believe how many people have like so many. It's insane to me because I've never even
Well,
sniffed one.
I've got a friend that's like a 10 handicap, and he has like 13.
That's fucking wild, dude. Unbelievable.
I mean,
Some
it's
people
so
either play
much
too
luck.
much golf or easily. Yeah, for sure.
He's the same guy that goes sits at a blackjack table and wins way too much money. So it's.
Yeah,
I always say he's got a horseshoe up his ass. So
that's the opposite of me. I have no hole in ones, and every time I go to the blackjack table, I get fucking rinsed. So maybe I'm just doing something wrong.
yeah.
Okay, I know you kind of touched on a couple earlier when I asked, but what's the most prestigious course you've been on? I know you mentioned Cypress and Pine Valley. Anything other than those two?
Say that one more time. I heard prestige, I think, and then it broke up.
Okay, I would say, what's the most prestigious course you've ever been out at? Is it Pine Valley or Cypress, or is it anything other than those two?
Probably Pine Valley. I mean, I think that's the hardest one to
Pine
get
Valley.
on. Seminole's up there too, but I'd say probably Pine Valley. That place is pretty special.
You still hear me?
Yeah, I was going to say Pine
Cool.
Valley. I mean, that place is pretty special.
Okay, cool. All right, last one because I know that we're battling Wi-Fi now. But what's the coolest golf moment? Coolest golf moment of your life?
I would say the 2015 U.S. Mid-Am. I was at Johns Island Club in Florida. I made it to match play, first round match. Had a big lead, won. Ended up having to win in the last. But the second round match, I was one down with 2 to play. I hit it like 3 feet on 17 for eagle, make eagle. So I'm all square with 1 to play. I hit it to my dad's caddying for me too, which makes it even more special. But so I have like 30 feet down the hill. The guy I'm playing's got maybe 10 feet up the hill for birdie. And at Johns Island West, the clubhouse oversits the 18th green, and you've got all these people watching. And I rolled the 30-footer in, and the people are cheering. I don't ever have crowds, so people are cheering, and my dad's like speechless. He's on the verge of tears, and the guy I'm playing misses it. And I think that was the coolest moment in my golfing career.
That's awesome.
Obviously,
My dad,
caddying for the champ in the mid-M's cool, but as far as playing, that's it.
Yeah, dude. My dad's my hero too. He got me into the game. I love playing with him. I don't play with him as much as I should, unfortunately. So, nowadays, but that's awesome, man. Okay, David, that's it. I really appreciate the time, man. Thank you so much for joining the Scratch Golf Show. Do you want to plug any socials? Where can we find you on Instagram? Anything you want to plug before we sign off here?
Instagram DCGIESII, and then I always plug my beer spot in Charlotte, Brawley's. He's always been good to me, and I try to rep him as much as I can.
Hell yeah, dude! I'll have to check it out. Check out what's it called, Brawley's.
Yeah, Brawley's Beverage. He's like the original craft beer guy in Charlotte, and I'm
Hell yeah, dude!
a big
Well, like I
craft beer
said,
guy.
we'll be in Wilmington. I'll have to if we drive the other way. I'll have to check it out. Okay, guys,
Yeah,
that's
you
gonna
got my
wrap
number,
it.
so text me.
For sure, dude. I will. All right, guys, that's gonna wrap up our interview today. Thanks.